Hey guys, Chomsky here. Uh, just I'm really enjoying going through some of the characters and showing how I've built them out as kind of a way to maybe inspire or just kind of talk really about my thought process with some of these champs and and where we can go on from there. So I want to talk about Mezomel, frankly, because there was somebody who had just pulled her and kind of got the ball rolling here. And I was like, hey, I haven't really touched Mezomel in a while, and I, I know that I've kind of ranked her pretty low on my mythical tier list when I did that video, like maybe like 2.5 months ago. But just wanted to touch base on her, and maybe get inspired to use her again. Like really, that's what it is. It's kind of a selfish endeavor, but here I am. So I have a +2 fully blessed Mezomel, and I've come across her in arena a few times, in live arena a few times, and she has wowed me. And then there's times where I took her out really quickly. So it's kind of like a glass cannon situation where you could build her like stupid heavy attack, and then basically get your team going first. So this way, everything is aligned, and then she could come in and wow up. So let's go through her kit, and then I'll talk through my thought process, and there we go. So first things first, we're going to talk about her skills in her first form. Uh, Attacks one enemy. She's attack based. Uh, Spirit affinity. Um, yeah, attacking one enemy, placing a 60% decreased defense for 2 turns. And an A1, that's not bad. We're depending on placement of ally attack, see if she could go first. So this way this could potentially go through, and then all your other champs could wow up. But that's spoilers. Apologies. Her A2 on a 3-turn cooldown, it's attacking one enemy twice. She's going to ignore 15% of the target's defense, as well as Stone Skin, Strengthen, Ally Protect, and Shield. Places a block revive if the target is killed. So basically, eh, she gives no shits. She's going to go straight through. The A3, which is really kind of awesome, it's an increased attack, increased crit rate, increased crit damage for 3 turns. On a 4-turn cooldown, grants an extra turn. So really, it's a 3, uh, which isn't bad. And then she heals 20%. She heals by 20% of the damage inflicted. And then anytime she kills, she gets a revive on death. So okay, A1's pretty snazzy. Straight up just damage dealer. Love it. A2 AoE. It's not going to trigger counterattacks, and then it's an additional hit on True Fear. Um, A2 attacks all enemies twice, places a True Fear debuff for 2 turns. It's not going to trigger counterattacks. It's also going to ignore unkillable and block damage. And then her passive is that she increases her attack and crit damage by 20%. So we have a few things that we could work with. Traditionally, I've seen her in Form 1 a lot more than Form 2, just because this A2 is really awesome because she's ignoring defense as well as blocking revive. I have her in Soul Reap, um, which gets kind of wonky because the the Soul Reap dude, um, basically, the Soul Reap attack kills the enemy, so it's not going to get a block revive. If you're not too worried about it, that's fine as long as they're dead. But you typically want to like maybe go for cruelty, you know, just a decreased defense, phantom touch, but it's going to be the same premise. Um, you could even go nature's wrath. Um, Not so much nature's wrath. What am I talking about here? Dun, 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 dun. Heaven cast. uh, as long as you have a lot of buffers. So That may get kind of worked on my end, but I'm okay with Soul Reap for the most part. Stat wise, as we saw on this form, I don't need that much crit rate. You know, um, frankly, that 30% is pretty big, but I have her set up like this: um, 58,000 HP, 7,500 attack, pretty beefy defense at 3,800, 239, 96%, which is maybe a little bit overkill, but that's fine. 300 crit damage, and then resistance and accuracy being basically pointless for me with her. So that's not bad. Form 2, you know, speed's always going to be an issue no matter what. Uh, but I'm targeting like 239, 280, just so this way I have my other champs that's built with her the opportunity to basically get everything going ahead of her. So I have her in supersonic. You know, again, she's going a little bit later, so like 240 um, speed. So basically, I am hoping that she's going to be able to cut in eventually as they get buffed. So that's not too bad. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind changing this out just for pure damage, but 20% speed, 15% HP, and the ability to cut in, that 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 sounds great to me. And then I also have Cruel, just to ignore a little defense, as well as to gain a little bit more attack. So I feel okay with it. There's a few sore spots here. Like I have two basics over here. I would like to get, maybe some Slayer stuff in there, just to, just to add a little bit more stats. But that's okay. I do have Saint Xavier's tribute just for the Veil. Um, you know, just longevity, but the triangle and circle really appeal to me. So increasing crit damage for each enemy whose HP is at 50% or lower. Again, talking about team composition, as long as there's others with her, I think this is just going to mop, you know? So I'm okay with this. Again, she's going to go slower, so I'm anticipating my dudes to go along with her just to do a little bit more damage, really aiming for that 50% threshold. So this way then crit damage goes up. And then every time the wearer kills an enemy, increases the damage dealt by 10%, up to 30%. So there's a whole lot here of just that hinges on killing, but she does do a lot of damage. Um, Here with her masteries, I'm kind of conflicted. So I got the crit rate, crit damage, which you're gonna have for every damage dealer, right? And then here, I chose Whirlwind of Death just because her whole kit predicates herself on killing an enemy. So let's gain some more speed. And then here, I already have that circle gem, so if it's less than 50, I want to. If it's less than 40, I get another increased damage of 8%. Okay, cool. That this kind of this one was kind of wonky for me because she has an opportunity on her second form to place out Fear and True Fear, which is great. And then this is only going to increase more damage to it. Then I was thinking, who am I going to have her with? If I have her with Marius on the same team, then there's potential for stun to be out there, as well as them to be less than 50%. So to get a little bit more damage, that's not bad. Again, it's really contingent on who she's with. Ideally, I wouldn't want freeze or petrification just because those two debuffs are damage mitigators. Like there's a small uh, damage buff that people who are frozen or petrified have. I think it's like 15 to 20%. So I don't want that ideally. Here, increasing more damage. She's at 72,000, I think, HP. And I think that's pretty much medium. That's pretty much right in the middle there. so that's okay. Here, it's really I after she goes, if she doesn't kill someone, then she's kind of left wide open. There's that glass cannon effect. So if she does kill someone, I really want that shield to potentially mitigate some damage. So I was Blood Shield sounds right to me. I didn't want Stoke to Fury just because I don't want debuffs on me, and I I didn't think Methodical was going to be the play here. Uh, if I had ally attackers with her, then this kind of makes sense because she's going to be using her default skill. But for me, I want Mezomel. I honestly, any battle that I'm bringing Mezomel in, I want one or two like turns, and that's it. I don't want long lasting battles. So this methodical screams to me as long lasting battles. So I chose more damage dealt for each enemy killed. And again, that just makes sense to me. She is that Grim Reaper type of character, and then ignoring defense. So that's a huge prelude to me choosing the defense tree here. I chose resistance just to get a little bit out there because I didn't want defense. But it doesn't matter in case if she does get shields, give me 5%, heals. Okay, cool. Uh, Potentially putting a leech out there. This goes with that second form of True Fear. A leech and True Fear out there, fantastic, love it. And then I want her attacking as much as I can. So if, like, let's say Fabian is tossing out their fear, I want her to attack. And chances are that Fabian's going to be really dedicated to speed and accuracy. So potentially she can kill Fabian as a counterattack. And that'd be really rad. So I'm okay with this. And really that's what I was really going for. But my my conflict here, my conundrum is, do I go with blast proof as a secondary, or do I do Grim Resolve or Heart of Glory? So this goes back to basically what I anticipate Mezomel to be, and that's the Grim Reaper. And I want her doing as much damage as I can. With that said, if I had her at like 330 speed, 350, or with Shuzen, where she gets an instant turn, and I could dictate when she goes, then I am all for the Heart of Glory here. But because I have her in my head and in practice at 239 speed, like 240, chances are she's going to get hit. And I don't have her in Stone Skin. I don't, like, she's just out there. So that's why I'm thinking Grim Resolve. You know, here I I I, I don't necessarily need those shield, like the more damage to shield buffs, because I think she's ignoring shields. So like that doesn't make too much sense to me. So that's why I'm really going with Grim Resolve. Um, which runs counter to the whole premise of what I've been saying of her being the Grim Reaper, of having her as a glass cannon. Now, it's only 5% more damage. I, is it going to be that big of a game breaker? I don't think so. But it's still something. And chances are she's not going to have a full like health bar. So that's why I'm going to go this way. I don't want support if like it's not going to extend True Fear. So Master Hexer doesn't make sense. You could go all the way down to Oppressor, but I see Mezomel as just straight up damage. So that's kind of what I'm going with. When it comes down to relics, you could put her in a Cat's Gaze. That's ideal because that does a lot of damage. You could also um, do one of these, the Malefic Talon. It increases crit damage, and you have a one in 5 chance to deal 10% more damage, which ain't bad. Um, I have 4 cat gazes, so they get tossed around rather quickly. And it does have the ability to swap out, all this. I'm okay with it. I have one on on Odin, which I kind of want to take away. So I may switch this out, but ideally, you know, um, Cat's Gaze would be great on her. Uh, Essence Quencher's also out there, Circle Triangle. I've just been on the fence a little bit when it comes down to it, and I with Veil, I think it makes sense. So I'm okay with it. Um, Again, Malefic Talon is one of my favorite relics. Uh, it's pretty easy to get, so I'm okay with that. But that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Uh, just it's just one of those where it's kind of how we situate our champions, which is yet another reason why I love Raid so much. Um, yeah, she is beefy. She's 6-star blessed. She's empowered twice. So it might be an outlier that she's this weak actually. And I said 75,000. It's 58,000. So yeah, definitely. There's gonna be dude bros out there that's gonna be almost double her HP. So, but yeah, this is how I have my Mezomel built. Um, I'm okay with it. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Would love to get any feedback from you. Drop a comment or find me on Twitch. Um, Looking forward to it, and then I'll leave or find me on Discord. I'll drop my link down below. Looking forward to hearing from you. Otherwise, see you later. Take care.